he's someone that definitely has the potential to take it all the way to be a finalist and winner of the event. It's just, we'll see how well he does this event. He's been looking strong in recent weeks. Gnik, unfortunately, at least he's securing QPL, but I can't see him even pulling through this one at all.
There's always the potential that Gnik, when he's playing on form, can kind of squeeze a map in, absolutely, because we have seen that before, even against some fantastic players, Dahang being one, if memory serves. But I'm looking at the champion picks now. The Blood Covenant coming through. It's just pure double jump for Gnik, as you can often see Doomslayer or Nyx kind of have that same utility in that respect. And then it's all movement for Dahang. We have the slash first, and then Corrupted Keep, it's Strog. So Dahang is one of those players that we can see is kind of fundamentally mechanically gifted, but the second he gets access to those really kind of rapid crouch sliders, Dahang starts to really come online, and what he wants to do thrives far beyond. Kind of like a Dramus level, but just way beyond that, because Dahang is just kind of more consistently successful and has been for many years now. And many pieces at play, lads, that I really think contribute towards Dahang having the edge in this matchup.
Absolutely, we're about to jump into our first match of the second series of the day. It will be Blood Covenant, Dahang facing down Gnik, who just yesterday managed to qualify for the next stage of the Quake Pro League. And we're gonna see Dahang play on the slash, got a lot of that fast, instant burst speed behind that character, whereas Gnik with the Doomslayer has got additional mobility in a more vertical sense of the word, so he can easily jump across many of the gaps on this map.
As we can see now, checking out Dahang first. And for now, it's all about kind of establishing yourself right at the very beginning. It's good that Dahang has got the rail. He is always quite decent at finding those tricky little angles, you know, almost in the blink of an eye. And one thing you'll always notice about Dahang is that there's just something about the way he uses rail, but I'm sure he uses the zoom so much less than most people. Like those immediate little rails. But before I can even finish talking about that, Gnik survives with barely any stack to work with. But it doesn't really matter, because he's going to pick up that first frag. He's got the Mega, he's got the Light, he's in a good spot now.
Yeah, Dahang definitely overextending a bit in that situation. I believe he figured that because Gnik didn't have LG yet, he was in a really good spot to take that medium-ranged fight. But of course, the Doomslayer can make magic happen with the double jump and then that air-assisted rocket raining down from above. So Dahang did end up falling there. Some decent rockets coming out of Gnik. Will get him control of the Mega. Heavy will be going towards Dahang though. He's got the speed. Gnik not yet eager to contest, but he's got a good position right now. He should figure that Dahang is still somewhere down below. Trying to keep a good look on this while still keeping much of the map behind him, so he can easily just double jump across and back out.
That's an impressive couple of angles from Dahang though, kind of sitting up near staircase just in case Gnik was looking around, which he certainly was. Tricky position for Gnik, only a tiny little bit of cover to work with. It's going to be enough to soak up at least one of those rails, but it's that stack. Gnik's been able to bring it back up. Heavy has been taken, though. He should by all means know that. And now the chase. Gnik's being really careful around these corners so far, and I do like that. You know, Dahang, we have touched on his kind of snappy rails. They can be quite dangerous, even early on in bracket. There's that double jump. Love that utility. Kind of like a ledge grab whenever you want, Flea, is the double jump, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. It's such a powerful ability going up the bounce pads, because that's usually a position where players are at their most vulnerable. But there's a few characters, such as Nyx and Doomslayer, that can easily get out of such a chokehold. Now Gnik, he's got the Mega behind him. He's delaying the item because he wants to set up a good rotation for the next cycle. By waiting a moment, leaving Mega up. Actually trying to trap Dahang. This might backfire. Rockets are sublime and the rail takes him down. Gnik 2-0 up already. Heavy about to spawn. Clearly the delay is working in his favor right there.
And an all-or-nothing decision from Dahang. He knows the Heavy's about to spawn because he times flawlessly, even on the back foot. And you can only assume the goal was, well, at the very worst, we concede a frag. At best, even if I go down anyway, because I'm going to spawn with pretty much no armor at all, you can take away the Heavy. That plan did not work out at all. Gnik is going to get a bonus frag and maintaining control over these items. Speaking of which, Heavy is about to spawn now. And Dahang Another position where he has to present himself among these items. He cannot allow Gnik to just go in and take them untested, but he's taking so much damage again. Forced to retreat. Gnik looks for the rail and he hits his mark. A 4-0 Flea. This is unexpected.
I don't think anyone was expecting a result, but then on the other hand, Dahang back at the previous finals also wasn't looking all that stable, so maybe he's just struggling with these grand final matchups. Gnik though, landing some excellent rails. And good reads as well, constantly keeping track of Dahang's position. Now the Slash is positioned nicely in between him and Mega, though it's going to be another brawl. Mega won't be up for a few more seconds, and Dahang, the American, will fall again as Gnik is continuing his onslaught. 5-0 of a lead already. Dahang looking for a way into this map. Looks like he is not even going to contest for the heavy. I think that's definitely a smart decision on his end. Just trying to do a bit of damage on the exit.
Feels very much like whenever we see these fights, Gnik is simply able to out-damage Dahang. He's going toe-to-toe with the rails from range. Even in some of those funky little angles that are pretty hard to hit, Gnik still managing to kind of knock it through the cracks. Just about to hit that 5-minute warning, and Gnik working on a sizable lead. The worry is that a couple more minutes and then things will get worrisome for Dahang if he can't get a single frag. You can start to chain them together, but we have to remember that Gnik, he's going to spawn with a pretty damn decent stack, and that immediate double jump does mean that even if he spawns somewhere weird, if he's up high, he can still reach different points. The tri-bolt, Dahang does manage to get a frag. Okay, potentially the start of something here. There is a light around. There should be more lights too. But Gnik, minimal weapons in hand, so this fight's going to be quite tricky to take fresh off the spawn. An opportunity for Dahang to hit a bunch of rails, and he knows it. There is no way Gnik's going to have access to a rail in return, so he has nothing really to worry about. Another pressure. Deny rail again. Look for it. Just like that, Flea, Dahang's back in the fight. He can totally make this comeback.
Oh, absolutely, and this is something that you very often see when the Liquid boys are playing. Both Rafa and Dahang, they have just a knack for, even if they lose at first, and yes, they are trailing by a few frags, they can so consistently manifest themselves back on the map and make that slow-burning comeback happen. And I think that's, you must feel when you're playing the likes of Rafa or Dahang, even when you're a few frags in the lead, you always have to feel paranoid. You always are under the impression that you might as well be trailing because you know that the comeback is coming. They're just playing the long game, and that's exactly what a player like Dahang thrives at. And with 3.5 minutes left on the clock, he's got plenty of time to start going back at Gnik.
It's why you look back at frags like frag number 3, where Dahang, fresh off the spawn, just goes right for heavy, because if he was able to at least deny heavy, that's an opportunity for him to then re-aggress again, fresh off spawn for his 4th life, and maybe he could have taken Gnik out earlier. It's all about the longevity, playing for the later points of the map, because as we've seen time and time again, with a player like Dahang, when he starts to cement his lead, it can be very hard to take that away from him. But speaking of that though, Gnik has a mighty impressive stack, but a bit of a risky jump pad to go up. Dahang does punish it, not majorly, but certainly enough that Dahang can continue to pressure around this map. But he is running out of time now, 3 minutes on the clock. Gnik can go into a bit of a more defensive style if he wishes, but he's going to have to be really careful. That rail, a lot of damage, and it puts him weak. Dahang knows that's a green light to pick up that heavy uncontested.
Gnik definitely has to start switching to the defensive a bit more. Nice little hiding position right there. The rocket unfortunately fails to do enough damage. That could have easily been a frag for Gnik, but he just completely whiffed that first rocket. And that gave Dahang that slightly extra bit of help that he needed to come out on top of that engagement. Now this might be an opportunity for Gnik though, landing a successful rail, knocking Dahang back down. Heavy up in a second. Gnik will be the first one on top of it. Rockets need to be sublime. And both players go down. That's a trade, and that definitely favors the Canadian Gnik right here.
That initial fight before this one with the rocket miss feels very much like it's just Slash thing. She's so fast that setting up that first rocket can be a little bit trickier against her than some of the other champions, because it's just so much harder to get. Like, look at this. You blink and Dahang has already gone. That is a delicious rail, though. Less than 2 minutes left on the clock. Gnik with the 2-frag lead. Has all the weapons he could want in this situation. He's got that unholy trinity locked and loaded. And now he is just listening out, looking for safety. Catching out a jump, and he just lets Dahang run right past. Why even take a fight? Why risk losing another frag? Just let him go.
Absolutely. Now Mega will be going to Dahang. Gnik taking the same position again. He's got to be careful doing that though, because this time around, Dahang is going to be ready for these kind of sneaky traps. Minute and 30 seconds left on the clock.
This is still so tense for Lee, because one frag and then one bad spawn and it's over.
It's Blood Covenant, right? This is a map where you can do some nice spawn frags. If you can trap your opponent in the little staircase hallway or over towards where the heavy spawns on Sacrifice, you've got a really good opportunity to land at least one good rail shot off the start and build up there. Gnik is playing this nicely though, avoiding the hang. I just hope that he might be able to steal a major item for his sake. Looks like he will leave heavy up though. And the hang, he's got to make a decision sooner rather than later to just go for the frags rather than for the items. Those rails are so bad. The hang, really weak.
I mean, that amount of damage alone might have potentially won this map because it forces Dahang to back off. He can't go for a push anymore, and now he has to take time to find him a second time. It's not about even getting a frag there for Gnik. It was wasting enough time that Dahang has to now waste all this. 20 seconds left on the clock. Dahang has to make something happen right now because it's not just this frag, it's the one that comes afterwards. But Gnik playing such an obnoxiously strong runaway game. He's going to get caught by the LG. What is the spawn? Is it even possible? 5 seconds. I don't think so, Flea. I don't think so. He can't find him. Gnik takes the first map. That already is what I would consider an upset, all things considered, and he's going to be feeling a ton of momentum going into the future map. That was a very intense way to finish things off, but he made it work. He made it work.
Really impressive showing from Gnik right there. I mentioned it before the game started. He had a good game against Sip yesterday, showed a lot of resilience and restraint, and clearly he's got the skills to duke it out with the best in the Pro League, as he just demonstrating taking down the hang. Very clever playstyle towards the end, switching to that passive, evasive style of play. And I think the hang perhaps waited a bit too long with kicking into that hyper-offensive gear. He was still just going around collecting major items with 45 seconds left on the clock when he was 2 frags down. And while you can do that on some maps, on Blood Covenant it is risky. Look at those frags though, the replay, that rail at the start, Gnik. His aim is on point. He's definitely thriving more in these online situations than he is at a LAN tournament.
I definitely would agree with what you're saying too. And there's also the fact that we mentioned it yesterday, and it's always worth mentioning today, that it strongly does feel like Gnik wasn't quite himself once Stage 2 began. Like how he qualified was, kind of fine and dandy. He looked so insanely dominant. And even at the tournament itself, he kind of looked not too shabby once the tournament began after the relegation. But during the online weeklies, he really did not find his flow. He pretty much struggled against everyone else. And after you chat with him at the Stage 2 final, he's like, yeah, there was a couple of stuff that was keeping me off my game, basically, for lack of a better term. And you can only hope that now he's kind of back on form, because this is the best Gnik that we've seen almost ever in Pro League. And let's not forget, he's going up against Dahang, the undisputed #2 in the Americas. Like, this was fully expected to be a 2-0 for Dahang quite easily, and Blood Covenant just went down the way it did. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Also worth pointing out, 56% railgun accuracy from Gnik. That is extremely impressive, especially when you're up against someone as fast and as small of a target as Slash is, and that was really a deciding factor in this matchup. He was just constantly punishing the hang. We saw it time and time again when the Gnik switched to his more passive playstyle. He would just hold down an angle and the hang would round the corner, rocket jump up towards the bridge, come around the railgun, and Gnik would just instantly knock off 90 damage and keep that going.
Now we should be loading into our second map now, which is going to be Corrupted Keep. Off the pure basis of how Blood Covenant went just through combat alone, and how Gnik was so confident just going blow for blow, you do actually feel like potentially he's got a good chance here on Corrupted. And if this even became a 2-0, it's got to be one of the biggest upsets that we've seen. It has to be. But what a celebration of Gnik it would be. But knowing Dahang, and he's been on the back foot many times before, one map is one map at the end of the day. And if there's one thing he can do well, it is just shake off whatever happens previously and go into the new map with a fresh mindset. By no means is this over. We're about to load in Gnik versus Dahang. Is the upset going to happen, Flea?
I mean, we've said it time and time again, right? Corrupted Keep is kinda a map of its own. It's so often extremely different from any other game in the series, so Gnik absolutely have a real shot at taking this one home. We're instantly going to see a lot of aggression. Gnik's LG is better, but the Rockets are punishing. Excellent use of the peeker, and that is something that he has to be so concerned about. This is one of the best maps to play Strog on because there's no railgun, so it's extremely difficult to take down the robot, and Dahang is already running away with 2 frags in 30 seconds.
Dahang, in many ways, is the Strog of Quake champions. Even before Duel, this guy was kind of inventing the meta with this champion, and if he's going to have a fighting chance, it's almost poetic to see him using Strog to do it. But a nice little 2-0 at the very beginning. Gnik has already demonstrated that when it comes to damage alone, he can really trade it, but we'll see if Dahang can play the slightly smarter game. Can he keep the pressure on? He has the mobility. A massive edge he's going to have over Ison is that if he needs to be somewhere, often he's going to be able to beat him to the punch. There goes the Pika. But even if the Pika goes down, a nice amount of information over the Mega that was just about to spawn. So swings and roundabouts and all that.
Dahang doing a lot of damage with the machine gun right there. Gnik caught in a bad position, but the American not looking all that healthy himself is gonna back away. No armor whatsoever for Gnik. Heavy's about to spawn. Luckily for the Canadian player, there's not a lot of time between the both items. Good rockets coming out, and that will at least secure him the mega health to work with.
It's a little bit like he potentially missed that first SSG blast. Could have been punished heavily with a death, but not quite. This is Corrupted Keeps. There are tons of all the light armors and health bubbles to kind of soak up along the way. This map being as kind of brawl heavy as it is, there's that denial from Dahang just to soak up one of those lights again. Gnik, pretty damn healthy himself, and not much of a split in between the 2 items, which does reintroduce an interesting exchange potentially. We get rid of the Pico right before the bulk of the damage can be done. Here comes the Heavy and the Mega. They trade it out 1 for 1.
Same trade we saw.
Ooh.
Seeing a bit of a trend emerge right here. Gnik keeping track of the Mega side of the map. Dahang more towards Heavy, getting himself some more LG ammo. He definitely needed those. Still, both major items up at around the exact same time. Gonna be extremely difficult for either one of these players to get both, even if they manage to get a timely kill. Dahang definitely seeming more interested in keeping on pressure, though. Gnik is just mainly sticking to that side of the map, trying to get away with the Mega, whereas Dahang is just constantly still looking for some damage, some peppers with the heavy machine gun, or a rocket like that will do the trick just the same. 3-0 of a lead right now.
I'm loving how consistently Dahang is starving Gnik of light armors too. His LG has been so immaculate, and that's a saving grace rocket to force a trade. Kind of best case scenario for Gnik. Funny saying that when he's 4-1 down, but truly that was the best it was going to go for him in that exchange. And he gets a decent spawn too. He's got the rocket, he's got the LG. A little bit of bonus, but oh, the damage. Insanely high output from Dahang. I was just saying how he's starving a lot of the lights away from Gnik, and a huge part of that working so well is that his combat today has been ridiculous on this map. The health of Gnik is just melting away, and without those armors, it becomes a lot harder. Speaking of armor, though, he's got that normal stack back up. Should be ready to fight again soon, but that is a 5-1 lead for Dahang so far. And again, an even split on the items. No one's been able to really kind of establish full control yet, which makes it even more surprising that Dahang is able to consistently win these fights as dominantly as he is. But there are some good rockets coming out from Gnik, but back to that armor situation that we talked about. These health bubbles are good for Dahang, but some more of that machine gun. Gnik with the good read on where he's going to dump down to. He just hooks it up. Nice.
Yeah, interesting to see how Gnik will approach this. He managed to get the frag, but the items, as you said, they're still completely split, and looks like we're going to see a bit of a flip right there. Gnik taking the heavy for the first time in what feels like the entirety of the map, whereas Dahang contents himself with the Mega. Gnik getting bounced up in the air though. Decent defensive rocket.
Ow.
Both players pretty low.
By no means is he out of the woods. But these health bubbles will surely make a big difference. Dahang picking his angle, doesn't want to jump too close for comfort with that rocket about to come through. And just look at the speed. And on the flip side, Dahang's able to get a lot of kind of just free damage as Gnik is navigating the map. With Dahang, it's just not going to happen the same way. He's too fast. That crouch side is making such a difference. That said, Dahang is incredibly weak. He's going to be able to deny the heavy at the very least, and that's a good shout from Dahang. If Gnik was able to get the frag and then get the heavy, it would have been pretty much the first time since the map began that a full established amount of control would have existed, and that would have been very snowball heavy for Gnik, but he takes tons of damage. Oh, that should have been an opening for him to get a frag, but Dahang somehow stays alive and keeps the stack high again, Flea. He played that so well.
That just really backfired on Gnik right there. He almost had Dahang. Dahang had like 10 points of health, managed to pick up the heavy, and then he secured himself a few health bubbles. The peeker comes out, and Gnik lives with just 3 points of health. Definitely had a major opportunity right there, but ultimately Dahang used that peeker expertly to shut down the push. And as you said, the speed that Dahang can use the Strog for with that crouch slide is definitely helping him a lot. Gnik unable to do a lot to respond to that because Dahang just had such a dominant presence on much of the map. Mega is up, and Heavy is spawning at around the same time. Aggressive push from the Strog, and that's exactly what we're talking about. The speed, the explosiveness. The moment that Dahang hits one good rocket, he knows that he's got a real shot at just bridging the gap, closing in on his opponent, and netting him 1, maybe even 2 frags.
But this is what I'm worried about, is that now, with that frag, has come the full rotation. There are no trades anymore, no I take one, you take one. Dahang has control over them both, and perfect timing on them both. He's going to soak up Gnik. We haven't even touched on the fact that Strog gets that health vial drop every time you score a frag, which if you're already in full control just makes matters way worse. Here comes the Mega, and it's perfectly timed with that heavy. I truly believe that this map very well is probably over because Dahang has been able to lock in the control. He's getting tons of damage in these fights, and although they were pretty competitively close for a lot of it, this is the moment that could very well end.
Oh,
I mean, come
what
on, man.
What a beautiful frag.
He's strong. I'll say it from the rooftops.
The peeker on the bounce pad, knocking Gnik into the corner and then finishing it off with the heavy machine gun. Beautiful kill from Dahang right there. And as you said, this game is getting pretty close to being over and done with, and the scoreline is running on ever faster because Gnik, of course, there's only 3 minutes left. If he's gonna do anything at all, he's gotta start mounting that comeback sooner rather than later. But of course, being forced to constantly push your opponent puts yourself in a lot of dangerous positions, and that allows Dahang to capitalize off these aggressive pushes so nicely over and over again. 10-2 already.
Plenty of health bubbles to retreat to, so that damage done by Gnik, it's good to be able to at least kind of stop some of the control that Dahang's working on. He is going to be aggressive here, but the LG is good from Dahang as well, and the rocket is even better. Yeah, surely this map is done and dusted. The moment we saw the heavy and the Mega kind of collected at the same time, this map was pretty much as good as done. But because you know what's going to happen next. We've seen it so many times on this map. It is the nature of Corrupted Keep. Gnik's not able to stop the snowball.
Yeah.
Now, it was so close for so much of it, and now I feel like I've blinked and it's 12-2.
I mean, Gnik did an excellent job for a very long time of keeping at least one of the major items in his favor. For 3-4 minutes or something, he always picked up the Mega. Dahang always picked up the Heavy. So he did an excellent job at making sure that his opponent just couldn't steamroll him for the rest of the map. But the moment that Dahang gets that one good frag at the right time in a good position, he just runs away with both of the items, and Gnik hasn't even been able to break that control that his opponent has on the map.
The scariest element is that Dahang is one of the most talented timer-based players that we have in Pro League. So you have a champion like Strog who can move as fast as he is, and then we have situations where Dahang can get to each item as quickly as he can. It's just Gnik is really struggling to take it away from him. The only time Gnik is able to get one of these items is when Dahang kind of doesn't care about letting it go. When he does want it, he'll take it.
Yeah, very true. Dahang extremely well known for his timing abilities, can keep track of basically both of the majors and then any small items he wants to as well, which is an invaluable skill when it comes to a game like Quake. Even though Gnik is right now starting to kick things off a bit, getting some of these spawn frags of his own, the difference is just insurmountable at this point. 8 frags, even with 30 seconds left on the clock, that's just a no-go. And it looks like Dahang is going to tie things right back up 1-1, meaning that we will be moving into our deciding tiebreaker map.
Yeah, the situation where Gnik is able to stop the snowball and then, dare I even say, like mount it up himself, it happened when there was 30 seconds of the map left to go. Dahang had just done such a wonderful job of making it such an impossible situation that the job was done a couple of minutes ago, really. It's like I said, the second we saw that one really good frag on Gnik and Dahang, it's like, okay, well now you've gone down and both items are up. I can finally get both of them. That was kind of the turning point and the point of no return from what you could normally see. And Gnik struggled to get back up. It's like what we always see. Dahang plays for that one moment, and no matter how long it takes to get that one moment where he's established himself, once he gets it, the map can be over. And that's exactly what happened at Corrupted Keep.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about this with both of the Liquid boys, right? This is just such a common trend with the two of them. They can be bound by 5 seconds or so, but it's the second half of the map where they really just start kicking things up and getting into the right gear, because they tend to play the long game. And they know that they don't have to move in for any ridiculously risky finishers or put themselves too far out there. If they just play their own game and consistently starve the opponent of resources while keeping a dominant position on the map and keep dishing out the damage, they are going to start getting the frags that they need in the end. And that's exactly what Dahang did. He was completely fine with that consistent spread where one player got the mega, he got the heavy, because he was still the one doing most of the damage. I said that during the game as well. While Gnik was just hanging on, waiting for that next mega to spawn and then having a sigh of relief that he managed to get the item once again, Dahang was more towards the center of the map, dishing out some damage with the heavy machine gun, and Gnik just wasn't able to rival that playstyle.
I mean, he got a fair amount of decent Pika plays as well, but you can definitely consider that the icing on the cake. Speaking of which, here we go. That's absolutely one of them. And I don't think I'll ever get tired of seeing Dahang get strong and Pika plays like that, but that's just more of a kind of swag moment. The bulk of the damage was done by just some immaculately placed LG, and just good positioning. Gnik, in a lot of these frags, he's kind of the one that's having to come to Dahang. He's the one that's having to take these predictable angles because he's running out of time, so he now has to try and make something happen. And that eternal position that I'm sure is no fun for anyone.
Absolutely, yeah. The Beaker is always great when Dahang's using it, but it definitely wasn't the one deciding factor when it comes to this map. Dahang just outplayed him, out-aimed him, out-timed him, and he played the long game with better control of the map. So it's important for Gnik right now that he can get over this. We know Corrupted Keep, it's a map where things can snowball out of control very quickly. He had a really good first map, and he should still try to ride that high from taking at least one map of one of the absolute top players in the world. So hopefully he can collect his thoughts, reset himself a bit, and as we move into the final map, which will be Ruins, just start things over fresh, knowing that he does have the skills of defeating this opponent.
So it should be Ranger versus Galena, and we are going to see potentially more shades of Blood Covenant. You know, they're both two maps that are kind of wide and large and very rail heavy. Rail is something that Gnik was kind of one of his star weapons on Blood Covenant. So it's kind of the nature of what you just said. Corrupted Keep is so often a map that you have to take it for what it is and let it be that way. That it is what it is, and then you move on. We're now going on to a map that was more similar to the map that Gnik was able to take in a pretty comfortable fashion, right? So it's bizarre to say that we're going into our decider map with Gnik and Dahang, and I'm not sure who I think is going to take this one. I think we're going to get all the information we need right at the start, because if Gnik is keeping his nerves in check and he's staying on that form that he achieved the first map in, this is going to be a damn competitive map.
I think it's also important to keep in mind that this is the first map where Dahang doesn't have a crouch sliding champion to work with, and we know that he's so good using the slash and the stroke to get around the map fast, so without having that extra speed boost and that additional mobility up over his opponent, this might just change things a bit in Gnik's favor.
Well, we are moments away from loading in. This is going to be Gnik versus Dahang, the decider map in this upper bracket. Is Dahang going to move on another day in the office, or is Gnik going to pull off the upset?
Fight. Looks like we're going to start things off on Gnik's point of view. He will be the one up at the Mega with the Ranger, so he is this time around the one with the better mobility. The Orb, such an effective tool of both dealing damage at close and medium range, as well as just maneuvering yourself in these very unpredictable positions around the map. Still, Gnik needs some more weapons. All he's got is the rocket launcher and the heavy machine gun. I like that he specifically went for heavy machine gun right there, knowing that railgun might just be a bit too risky to go for off the bat. So he satisfies himself and contents himself with the second best thing on the map, which is of course the heavy machine gun. Dahang taking a pretty nasty rocket right there. Heavy machine gun looking pretty decent too. And heavy is still up. Gnik knows this.
Can get some bonus damage. Dahang stack. pretty healthy. And now Gnik, all about that early positioning. Currently in a better position for the Mega, but with it being 20 seconds away, there are other matters to attend to. The first one's going to be to soak up that light. And I like the way Gnik is positioning himself, actually. He's the one that's currently kind of controlling the center of the map. There is the fact that Dahang, although he has got access to the totems because he's Galena, Gnik with this much stack and the center positioning means that once that orb becomes a possible thing, ouch, it's quite scary. That is a good rail, actually, and a wonderful angle, trying to stay as safe as possible, giving up no angles to Dahang. However, the heavy does get taken. Dahang was ready for the chase down, though, and now Gnik, off the back of one rail, is looking a little bit tender, even more so now he's only on 10 HP. This is the opening now for Dahang to be aggressive. The second he went forward, I was admitting I was nervous about that one, clenching kind of hard.
Absolutely, a bit of a cringe on my end, just expecting the rail in the back, and that is just exactly what Dahang needed, right? 3 rails completely changed the pace of the game. Now Gnik is the one starving for resources, whereas Dahang managed to secure both of the major items, Mega first, then Heavy, and make his way around the map. Now Gnik does manage to get himself back up to a respectable stack, but he still has to be careful.
Tri-bolt. Good choice. Damage! Who needs to teleport when Dahang takes that much damage in one exchange? Amazing how fast one bad fight can turn the tide. Hang on a minute, Gnik, he's got armor and he's got health. He can even fight for this heavy if he wants to. He positions himself. Who's going to win the fight? Looks like the LG's insane. Dahang manages to do it, but barely. He had to fight for that one, Flea.
That was 100% won by the totems that Dahang had up. He managed to back up, get himself on a totem for that extra health injection, because otherwise Gnik would have absolutely taken that. And I do believe that might be because Gnik wasn't fully taking account of the fact that Dahang had all 3 totems up. So he actually had that overstack healing going for him. And that is something that Gnik absolutely has to respect. The totems around the map, he's got to be picking them up. Will go down once again. But at the very least, he did manage to secure the heavy for himself and deny it to his opponent.
Now, he denied the heavy. The problem he's going to have is that he has not answered these totems back. So it's not going to be a matter of, okay, I've taken the heavy down and Dahang's going to be weak, because Gnik has the knowledge that Dahang has the totems down there. So after that fight doesn't quite go his way, speaking of which, hang on, we'll talk about it later. Here comes a rather important fight for Gnik. By all accounts, he should be able to seize this one, and he will. He even knows how weak he is because he goes in for the machine gun. And now Dahang! This is the problem for Gnik. He was off the spawn, but he has no weapons. He was out of LG ammo too. Dahang had the perfect spawn to just recover from that.
That was too aggressive of a push from Gnik. He needs to start finding these totems. That should be his priority right now, because Dahang is getting so much healing out of having them up. Ow! Gnik, what a push with the close quarters. Tri-bolt for the win. Beautiful play from the Canadian. But those totems, man, I'm telling you, he needs to get them and take them down as soon as possible. Dahang is all set up down there. Careful! Gnik almost giving me a heart attack and walking right on by yet another totem. I think he's just perhaps caught into his own mind a little bit too much to wrap and recognize the danger that these totems are posing right now.
I mean, Gnik is a player that, he's gone past it again. He's not scouting that one in any shape or form, but it's in such a good place for Dahang that totem healing on command in Heavy Room is going to become such a thorn in Gnik's side, and it's still down there. More totem damage coming through. There's always the possibility too that Gnik, I mean, he is in a decider map against Dahang in a Pro League finals. I do wonder if like that kind of pressure is getting to Gnik a little bit, and he's almost tunnel visioning slightly.
Might very well be the case, because Dahang, of course, is a tried and tested competitor of Quake, has played so many LAN tournaments and finals all over the world, so he obviously has a lot of experience in dealing with these tense situations and the pressure. Meanwhile, Gnik really doesn't have the same level of experience when it comes to these crucial situations. Luckily for him, though, it does appear that he finally managed to take down Dahang's totems, but by now a lot of the damage has already been done, and Dahang is leading by 2 frags.
Plenty of time to make stuff happen, but Gnik, there are a couple of errors in potential judgment coming through, but he does perfectly time himself. The rocket into the clutch rail. If that rail missed, Gnik probably would have gone down, and who knows the disasters that might have followed. He's getting some good angles, though. He's confident in the spawn. More totems, though, and it's less about the damage more than it is the information for Dahang right now, seeing where Gnik is. We're 10 seconds away from mega spawning that rail.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
beautiful little shot right there from Gnik, and this is absolutely within the realm of possibility. He's got a good lead over Dahang. He's got control. He's gonna find him again. This should definitely be a frag. Doesn't even have to use the orb. He could have finished that earlier, but he knew that hanging on to that extra utility would help him more. And out it comes again. Dahang sure. No! Gnik, what are you doing? Switching to the railgun when his opponent is at 3 points of health, and he will drop down dead. Oh,
why would
that hurts. He ran out of ammo for LG and just switched to railgun instead.
Oh my giddy. I'm not going to say the other word that you're waiting for, even though I guess I kind of just said it. The fact that Gnik was so close to confidence to go in because he knows Dahang has just spawned.
Yeah.
Dahang has just spawned. He has nothing to bother you with. And he went aggressive. He stole the heavy. He had all the chips. And somehow, the fight goes in Dahang's favor. I am worried about this, though, because if this goes down to 1 frag and Gnik does not win this map, that is the moment he is going to look back on and think, how did I lose that?
Yeah. And I'll just say it for you, oh my word. That turnaround, that was painful to watch. And now Dahang, once again, he's got the triple totems on. Gnik will take 60 damage running through one of those. Still 2 more up on the playing field, though. Gnik, he's got to find the totems and deal with an angry Dahang with a ton of stack, just barely slipping through the portal on time. Rockets need to be good, and indeed they are. Gnik will fall again, and with 2.5 minutes left to go.
Flea, I am worried for Gnik. This is a scary position to be in. Dahang, he's got the control. Yes, Gnik is in the position for the heavy, and he's got an LG, so it could be worse. The Dire Orb's going to help him, but Dahang, he's not going to go down there and take that risk. He'd much rather control heavy again. He's already got the totem established. He can go through the teleporter if he needs to, or cover the teleporter, I should say, because that's more accurate, but just let Gnik go in. Is he going to let him take it, or is he going to try and pressure his way? The fight. A rocket is traded, exchanged. Dahang looking just to disengage so far. And now we can start to play the hyper-defensive game. Dahang is going to slow the pace down. And I don't blame him, to be honest. We have less than 2 minutes on the clock. This is the decider map. Dahang knows that Gnik's the one that's feeling the pressure. He has got the stack, but 1 ounce of over-aggression and Dahang can just delete that stack. His damage has been insane on this map today.
Gnik does putting himself in a pretty good situation now, though. He's got control and timing of both of the items, he's got a stack advantage, and he's got the orb ready to go. So he's more mobile, and he's much more stacked than his opponent is. But Dahang, just switching to a defensive playstyle, isn't even gonna take the fight. He just hears Gnik come around the corner, and he's gonna drop right on down to escape. The LG is good. Gnik, he's taking the fight. I like the decision not to pursue that. Just go for heavy. You still have time. There's a minute left to go. Oh, again running into the totems, though. Totems must have done a few 100 points of damage by now.
I love Dahang's defensive angles. Playing this hyper-defensive game, that is a good rail. No scope needed. But at this point, it's about just listening out for Gnik, making sure you've got plenty of space between the two of you, rail him when you see him, and just keep him behind. The biggest thing, though, is keeping him stressed, keeping him uncomfortable. I am so concerned for Gnik, and by all accounts, this situation should not be happening. I think the unfortunate error of Gnik in that one fight has led to all of this.
And Gnik not being able to even contest for heavy right there, to me, that spells the end of the game. Giving Dahang a free major item like that when he's got the totems ready to heal himself up, that's just the end of it. Gnik's still gonna push in, but with 10 seconds left on the clock, even if he manages to get the frag now, it is all going to be for naught, and that will be Dahang cleaning things up 2-1. He had to work for it, though.
He did, and my heart bleeds for Gnik. Truly it does, because the moment... It's just one of those things where everyone watching the stream, right? We've all watched a lot of Quake Champions tournaments at this point, and when something like that happens, you know what's going to happen next, don't you? It's just the pressure is added, the stress gets a lot worse. But if you're someone like Dahang, you punish like that, the first thing you do is capitalize. Okay, how can I establish myself now? And I don't even want to think about how stressed out that must have made Gnik all the way up until the end. That one fight It's all that work. I just can't unsee the amount of work Gnik had to do to reach that point. He played so well to reach it.
I mean, he has set himself up to do great things during the next stage, right? Just beating Sip, taking a map, almost 2 maps off Dahang right here. The man is cruising, and I think he's going to be able to take some names this time around.
I hope he does as well, because it was a fantastic showing from him, and good to see Gnik actually getting some damage out there, putting the feelers out and showing what things he can do, because we didn't really get to see it during the online stage. And it's a shame, because he's come back in, he looks revitalized, he looks fresh, and I'm glad. But, of course, the big talking point is Dahang. Oh my. We haven't seen him. Obviously, it's the first time we now get to see him in the tournament, Dan. Where does he go from here as the main man's back? He's got the gunners on, and he's looking for frags.
He is looking for frags, but he definitely needs to dust off those gunners because they weren't on point today. He looks a bit rusty, if I'm honest. And there's no discredit to Gnik. I thought Gnik played spectacular. I'm actually feeling for him because overall he deserved it. But at the same time, Dahang didn't look up to the show, and he definitely needs to have a reflection and a chill out and maybe a coffee, because if he plays like that next round, he's not going through.
Yeah, and I think we kind of saw something similar from Dahang come out of the last finals, right? Losing to Chain, and I believe Vangur it was. Absolutely no shame in that, but you could see kind of the same little shivers, the little shakiness that we've seen throughout this match as well. So hopefully he can turn it back around, because otherwise, I agree with you, Dan, I don't think he will be able to take down many of the stronger opponents moving ahead in the tournament.
I mean, we have plenty of highlights through the Corrupted Keep, one of the maps where it kind of looked a little bit more like Dahang, the way we are familiar with, when it's just it's a small map. It's all about just having that movement on deck, just having the lockdown, keeping the entire map really in your back pocket. And Dahang had that in this one map, but that's kind of really all it came from. Even if Dahang is in that situation where he's not quite playing the way we're familiar with, that was Gnik's opportunity to take it and run away with it, because it wasn't Gnik's problem. And he was so close to making a massive upset and punishing it, but I'm sure we got it on camera. I'm waiting for the moment it all started to go wrong, and
yeah,
Gnik's heart probably ripped in half. There's no other word to describe it but unfortunate.
Yeah, it's good to see Gnik, though, as you rightly said, back and refreshed, because Poland didn't go to plan, really wasn't his event. But even before that, I just felt all through the last stage, he just didn't look himself. So to come here and, as you say, re-qualify and put in a really solid performance against
the moment
one of the best players is really great. Oh man.
Then we took at the rest of the highlights. That was a frag just in the palm of his hand, and it goes to show, I think, how brutally punishing Quake can be as a game. That one moment where you swap to the wrong weapon and miss the shot, the amount it can cost you in this competitive setting is insane.
It's the problem with such an execution-heavy game, right? You can have the perfect game plan, the perfect strategy, and the perfect moves in your head, and if you don't do what you're meant to do, doesn't matter. It's not going to go your way.
Yeah, talking of doing things, though, Dahang certainly did some damage. You can see his series statistics up on screen there. All of the maps were relatively close as well. Even the first one that was stolen away from him, his slash might have been good, but she wasn't sublime enough to pick that up. He did lose out there, but went on to then take both of the other maps in rapid succession. Good rocket accuracy as well, 55%. That is Dahang that will be moving on from that position. And moving out from this best of three, we're going to be going into our next one, our third game of the day.